Hey, my apologies for that. My network just went out of nowhere.
And we are ready to go.
I call this meeting to order. Hey, everyone. So we can get started with a check-in. I'm thinking about just maybe going around saying your name, pronouns, and just how has this week been for you so far? I can go first. I'm Gordon. My pronouns are he, him. This week, well, I gotta say, last weekend was pretty good. Mother's Day was Sunday, and spent a lot of special time with my mom. But when school came back, it's a little bit hectic trying to get in, like trying to hurry up and get in these assignments. But other than that, it was good. I don't know if East has there is a protest Friday that I know a lot of East students will be partaking in, and I plan to join that as well. Um, I can pass it off to Mia.
Hi everyone, I'm Mia. I'm Mia. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And this week has been pretty busy because of AP testing, but other than that, it's been pretty good. I'll pass it off to Lavinia.
Hi, I'm Lavinia. My pronouns are she, hers. And this week, yeah, it's been pretty stressful, and I am so excited. It's almost over. But yeah, other than that, it was pretty good. We had the Student Senate forum on Tuesday, so that was fun. I will pass it off to Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And this week has been pretty good. It's just been pretty busy too. So, like Lavinia said, I'm pretty happy it's Thursday. Um, I will pass it to Mari.
Hi, I'm Mari. My pronouns are she, hers. Um, my week has been very hot and very busy with my kids' sports. And I am going to pass it to Andre.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andre Johnson. My pronouns are he, him, his. I agree with this week has been busy. This is my Friday, so I guess I really can't complain. But looking forward to the weekend and the nice weather. So I will pass it on to Michael.
Thank you, Andre. My name is Mike. My pronouns are he, him, his. And this week has been, very busy. Just trying to support a lot of folks, especially with all this heat, and just trying to make sure no one's passing out and helping people get through this week for a myriad of reasons. Actually, I'm currently in Arizona, where it is 12 degrees cooler because my niece is graduating from high school. So I'm here to support her and the family, but I'm very happy to be in this space and share this space with all of you. And I will pass it to Dr. Hicks.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Hicks. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And this week has been actually phenomenal, like all of them. And I don't feel stress, even though I probably am carrying it somewhere. I don't feel it, and so that's great for me. And I'm really, really excited because tomorrow my daughter will be graduating with her PA degree. So she'll be a physician's assistant, and she's a PAS moving to a PAC. And so hopefully in June, she will take her boards and then be certified. So I'm really excited about that. Is there anybody who hasn't gone? I'll pass it off to Rebecca Ramirez, Dr. Ramirez.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Ramirez. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I've had a pretty busy week, but a fairly successful week. And who's left? Dana, have you gone?
I have not. Hello, my name is Dana. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I've had a phenomenal week because I was in Arizona earlier this week seeing a concert for one of my favorite bands. And so that was pretty awesome. I am going to pass to Johanna.
Hi, my name is Joanna. I go by she, her, hers pronouns. I feel like my week has been good, except that for the fact that it's been so hot and La Follette has no air conditioning whatsoever. So it's been kind of unbearable with the heat. But yeah, and I also like to apologize for being a bit late. I was having some updating issues. So yeah. And anyone else who hasn't gone? Okay, can Cece?
Hi, my name is Cece. I use she, her pronouns. My week has been pretty good. It was busy, but still good. I'll pass it to Miss Hotz.
Hi, I'm Jessica Hotz. I teach at East, and my week has been hot. It was 90 degrees in my room when I left.
I think has everybody gone? Ananda Shide. It's been a hard week, but I'm really glad to be here. Just hearing you all and just made my week much better. So I'll pass it back to you, Gordon.
Thank you all for participating in that. I'm glad like no one hasn't had like a sincere, bad week or anything. But so we can move on into the next agenda item, which is discussion the creation of vision for safety and wellness. Ananda, would you like to take the lead on that?
Yeah, thank you so much, Gordon. And I just see that Maddie just joined us. Maddie, we just wrapped up a check-in with just name, pronoun, and how was your week? Are you in a position that you can share with us?
Sure. I just identify as Maddie Reese, and my week has been going pretty well. It's been pretty hot, and I don't have AC in my vehicle, so I've been enduring over these few hot days, but I guess we're blessed to have them, and I'm just happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. So we are going to get to the charge of our work, which is this creation of a vision for safety and wellness for our young students. And I wanted to ask you all, if you don't have in front of you, but to ask you all to get either a piece of paper and a pen or Google Docs or Word doc, because I'm going to invite you all to just do a little bit of writing. And the reason that we're adapting this activity a little bit is that I know that some of you need a little bit more time to process. And so we're going to do that. We're going to kind of, think about a prompt and then reflect and then do some writing, and then we'll have an opportunity to share. So the first guiding question that Gordon and I came up, which is the main charge of this group, is what is your vision for student safety and wellness? What is your vision for student safety and wellness? And we're gonna journal or reflect or put bullet points or draw or doodle, however you want to use your time. Feel free to do that. We're gonna just use about 1.5 minutes of our time to write it down. What comes up for you? And I'm gonna turn my mic off and then come back in 1.5 minutes. Are there any questions on what we're doing next? Okay. Just 10 more seconds to wrap up. So the next question, is, what would you like MMSD to do differently or more? What would you like MMSD to do differently or more? And you get a minute and a half. Begin wrapping up another 10 seconds. So going back to what you wrote or the bullet points that you made around our first question on what is your vision for student safety and wellness, take a look at what you wrote, what you reflect on, and then identify 2 or 3 items that you want to bring up to the committee for us to make sure that we embed in our holistic vision for student safety and wellness. So take a look again at what you wrote for the first question, and identify 2 and 3 things that you want to make sure that they are included in our collective vision for students' safety and wellness. So we're gonna just do a sharing of those 2 or 3 things that you all have identified, and we're just gonna go around. And similar to what we just did, where folks just call on each other once they complete their thought. And I'll be here, Gordon and I will be taking notes of what's coming up for folks. Is there anyone that's one of the students ready to start us? Lavinia, you seem to be ready. Yes, go for it.
Sure. Kind of just a place where the current unaddressed mental health issue is solved, and just a united school or a community with all individuals like accepted, safe, and yeah, those were the 2 main things. Mia, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm good. So going along with what Lavinia said, I think that more emphasis on mental health, like awareness or anything like in support, that would be great. Also, both physical and mental health. Of course, we can't ignore physical health too. And then also, like a more united, supported community of students to make sure that everyone feels like safe and at home at school. And I'll call on Megan.
Yeah, so I said that every student has someone they can go to with problems, feels safe doing so, and feels like they will be listened to, and there will be actions taken to help them resolve their problems or any issues that they may be dealing with, but also just like supported in and out of the classroom. And then I'll call on Cece.
Yeah, I wrote like creating a better environment in schools for students and their needs, like not just checking a box on a list, an actual support system for students put in place, then actually like listening to students, like visibility and transparency. And then I'll go on to Joanna.
Yeah, so basically I also put mental health awareness. I feel like it's been a big lack this year. So that would be a big one. And then also letting students know what is actually happening. So like students being aware of what's happening in the district. And because I mean, we're the foundation of this district and a lot of students don't know what's happening. So yeah, I feel like that's really important. Oh, and do I pick like, is there another student that hasn't gone? Gordon or?
Gordon, yeah. And Gordon, after you will just pause a minute.
Okay. I said for me, what that will be is, central administration that make these decisions to include those on the front lines or the grounds, however you want to use it. So to me, that's teachers, right? That's teachers and the security guards, especially when it comes to safety and wellness. Because I think a lot of times we don't really take the time to really hear what teachers have to say. A lot of times it's kind of like generalized or maybe by department chairs or whatever. But I think like actually having a conversation with those who are on the front lines of this stuff and don't lead the security guards out of it, because those are the people who respond, when you have these things happening with behavior. And then teachers, it's not, not just teachers too, but also like, you have school psychologists, counselors. There's so many people who interact with students on a daily basis who I think we need more of a cohesive and interpersonal communication with. And I think for my second idea, it's like ensuring that restorative justice work is actually being incorporated into behavior policies and into wellness betterment for our schools. Because I think a lot, every school has an RJ coordinator and et cetera, but do we actually utilize restorative justice in our practices, right? So ensuring that all of that is, is like actually implemented in practice. But yeah, that concludes my two ideas.
Thank you, everyone. I just wanted to take a moment to unpack some of the things that you all said. And then if there's any questions, you can, other students having questions about what you just heard, or if the adults have questions on what you heard. I wanted to lift up a couple of questions that came up for me. Many of you said that increase the mental health awareness. When you all saying that, can one of you or a few of you tell us what does that mean? What does that mean? Is that to know that a mental health professional is in the building? Is that to know that mental health impacts the social well-being of students? What does that mean to have a mental health awareness?
I feel like mental health awareness means like recognizing, like teachers and just the district, students also recognizing that mental health has like a big impact on students' performance socially and like grade wise, like in the work and what they're doing.
So I'm gonna make sure that I'm capturing what you said, Cece, is that all adults in the building understand the impact of mental health on students. Okay. Anybody else wanted to offer a perspective on what is mental health awareness means? What's the increase of mental health awareness mean?
I'd also like to add on like having spaces at school where kids can actually like cool off and like, talk about their problems and issues with staff that maybe look more like them, and having like, I guess, more diversity as well. Cause I feel like this has been a big like lack in that area. And like, I guess not taking away mental health spaces like a Follett when the whole entire crib thing, how it was like being like cut short and that affected a lot of students mentally. So just like being aware that students may need mental like health places to go to at school, and not to like get rid of those places or like take time away, because students would need it all throughout the day.
I also like to add, I think just like having conversations with like mental health professionals too, but just like among students and teachers in general about mental health will kind of, I guess, allow for it to kind of unpack any like stigma around it, so that students like are, know that it's okay to reach out and stuff. And I feel like just talking about like signs of mental health issues as well, like in yourself and in other like your friends, like identifying that is also really important. So just like talking about about the issues.
I also want to add, sorry, that the only time that for our school in sophomore year, we all were required to take health classes, and in those health classes we learn about mental health, but that's around one of the only times that we like talk about mental health, like actually talk about it. So I feel like just more incorporated talk in all of our classes, even because it's a part of our like real world in any single situation in class. So I mean, just like more increased talk with students, teachers, staff, all of that, just in our classrooms, that would be amazing.
So I think like kind of bouncing back off of all of these students, that mental health also means that, having mental health awareness inside of the school, so that when folks are going through these issues, that there is someone there that can deal with those issues at that present time. Also, I think that, like she said, having it and basically in all type of classrooms and conversations about it, because I mean, we all are coming out of a pandemic. I don't think that anybody is okay right now, no matter how much, folks think, they're bouncing back and things like that. But we are still in a pandemic, and we're going through a lot right now, and our children are going through a lot right now. So that mental health piece, I think, needs to be an open revolving door for our kids in school.
Thank you, Mary. Are there any other questions from the adults to anything that the students just shared? It was a lot of, Dr. Hicks.
Yeah, I have a question. I heard restorative justice brought up. Can you expand on that, Gordon? Because you brought it up. And do people really understand and know what restorative justice really and truly is, or is it something that people think it is?
Yeah, so that's a good question. To be completely honest, I do not believe that the majority of our students, at least at East, know what truly restorative justice work is. I didn't even know much about restorative justice until students tend to start doing more active work in that area, and until we actually had an advisor who does restorative justice coordinating. And so I think, one, we need to educate our students on what actually is restorative justice. I do know in middle school, sometimes they have like these circles and all those things, but restorative justice is beyond that. It's much deeper than that too. And I think a lot of times I think you do have a point. Like a lot of times, sometimes it's like, well, people think it is, but I never necessarily know the nuance behind it. So I would say, yeah, we need to to really answer your question, we do need to start educating students more so on what is restorative justice work and how is it supposed to be practiced, right, in our schools.
Yeah, Joanna. Oh, Dr. Hicks, were you done? Okay, Joanna.
Oh yeah, I just want to add on to what Gordon was saying. I am aware that La Follette and East High School actually received like about $60K, I believe, for restorative justice, or was voted on that for them to receive that much money aimed towards restorative justice. But I personally have not seen anything happening at La Follette with restorative justice. I don't know how it is at East, but La Follette, it seems like the restorative justice just isn't there. So I feel like there really needs to be like, I feel like the administrators need to be held accountable of actually letting kids know there's restorative justice and actually like doing restorative justice and offering these opportunities and not just like doing like, how should I say this? Like not just doing circles like how Gordon said, but like actually implementing it into our curriculum or into our school so students know that we have it, because it's a waste of money if we don't do that.
Are there any other students that want to add or have any questions that they would like to ask or compliment anything that is missing from this conversation?
If you don't mind, I just kind of want to say something. I think when it comes to mental health awareness, I just think what we might need to do is actually have spaces that like solely focus on those things. Cause we kind of have like program times that talked about check-ins, mental health check-ins, and all of that, but I don't think those are very effective. So I think a lot of times when we do these mental health awareness things, we kind of rush it and we don't really think about it too much logically, so much logistics of it. And I will also say that maybe this is a conversation that we should have too with the school psychologists that we have and other people in student services who want to work with mental health awareness and, et cetera. Because like, we want the other people who would be mostly involved with this stuff in the first place, right? And then also, I don't really think students know that you can go to your school psychologist too, when you need some problems with, if you like need support in some areas. And, I just think, yeah, work with those people and just bring more awareness to like what resources are available. And of course, like making actually effective spaces to talk about these things. Megan, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I think also just someone already mentioned this, but like removing the stigma, it's kind of a thing where like one of my friends will be having a hard day and they'll miss a couple classes and it's very embarrassing for them to feel like, or for them to say, oh, I was at the counselor's office, or I'm having a hard day. It's a very embarrassing thing. It's a very vulnerable position for them to be in. And I think really creating a safe space for students who are having those moments or who need to take a minute and miss a class or kind of reassess where they are is really, really important, especially for students who struggle with things like anxiety or other things that affect their day-to-day life in a major way.
Thank you. Any other additions from the students? Any other questions from the adults? Hearing none.
Nanda,
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just also wondering, do adults have anything to say about this? Because I know they hear a lot about, mental health stuff and wellness and all those things.
Is it
I'm
okay if I
sorry.
go? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Gordon. It's breaking up a little bit. Can you repeat, Gordon, what you said?
Yes. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I was just wondering if the adults here have anything to say regarding mental health and wellness.
Great segue. Let's just do the mental health. Let's continue the mental health theme. And then the next thing would be to just do the same activity where you all share what came up for you all. Michael, and then Mari.
Thank you. Honestly, pretty much all the students in this space like hit on all the things I wrote down in terms of it. But in terms of the mental health supports, I think just like having consistent communication and systems with enough staff to actually meet the needs of the wide variety of needs that students come with, and to have more spaces to integrate mental health, both awareness and supports just on a daily basis. You know, I just wanted to speak up to affirm what the students have been putting out there, just in terms of my experiences in student services and my conversations with you know, the mental health professionals at the school, the restorative justice coordinators, you know, classroom teachers, administrators. Is I think there's a lot of shared beliefs in that, or where there's a lot of shared seeing the same things. So I just wanted to affirm that piece, at least from my perspective and my role.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Mari?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the appropriate time in the meeting to bring it up, but I want to make sure we don't forget physical safety concerns as well. I know that my children don't feel safe when people are lighting fires in the garbage cans, for example, or there's physical aggression between students that are, you know, close by. I just want to make sure we don't forget to bring those issues up as well.
I think that physical safety, thanks for bringing that up. I think that that physical safety piece is very important. I know that a lot of students haven't felt safe at school, but I also hope that means that we can find some type of support groups or some type of other security other than us having to bring police and things like that back into the school. So I hope that with that that safety piece, that we can work that out as a community.
Thank you, Maddie. And I don't know if you can see, Maddie, folks are raising their hands. So there is a queue up for lining up, and you may not be able to see.
Oh, I didn't. I'm
Dana,
sorry.
no worries. So Dana and Ms. Hatz.
So the thing I'm consistently hearing from staff is that they do not feel empowered with information to be able to help the students. So making sure that admin and teachers are adequately trained. I mean, there are things that are happening in schools that a lot of people have never dealt with before, don't necessarily know how to engage with. And our teachers are the first people that the kids come across. So being able to get to student services is great, but there is that layer of teachers that don't feel empowered with information and don't feel empowered with being able to affect change. So I just wanted to throw that in the mix.
I totally agree with Dana. And moreover, I mean, in her wonderful presentation today, talking about catching things at the smaller level before they escalate, I think has been a real problem. And also, just to heighten staff, if staff aren't safe, students aren't safe. If students see staff being harassed, and I've experienced this a lot, and nothing has been done about it, then our students aren't going to feel safe either. And so the fact that like the BEP has nothing about harassing staff in there shouldn't be. So to have policies that provide kids an opportunity to have a safe experience, but also, you know, to support them in making the right choices so they can be good learners and can have those mental health supports that they need to.
Thank you. So I'm gonna ask for the adults to do similarly. Yeah, Maddie, just one moment. I'm gonna bring everyone, and I'll call you on you first. For adults now to look at what you wrote, how you responded the first question on what is your vision for student safety and wellness, and share one or 2 to 3 things that came up from your reflection. And go ahead, Maddie.
Well, with safety, I think it has to be that balance, like she was saying, like we have to lead by examples, and not, you don't have to only be an adult to lead by an example, but I believe that if the teachers have the support that they need, that they can show that type of support to their students. So I do believe that in the schools, the teachers have to be backed up by everybody in order to have a successful classroom.
Thank you. Anyone would like to go next? Yeah, Michael.
I'm just kind of looking back on my reflection. The one thing that that I don't know is surfaced as enough is also just kind of having an honest conversation on how it ties in with kind of our approach to academics, and just knowing when we talk about mental health crises, sometimes I've seen as dean of students, like, sometimes it's a matter of 2 students fighting or, physical aggression, but then also I'm concerned, thoughts of self-harm or anxiety increasing, especially for students if they're taking like AP classes or with a significant workload, and kind of the dual discussions we have where we say, we want you to be your best version of yourself, and we accept you for who you are, but let's give you so much coursework that like you just shut down emotionally. Saw that a lot, especially last year when students were returning to the building. That's what I heard from students a lot. So it was just on my, when we talk about safety and wellness, just a feeling like they're not going to be crushed by the weight of expectations sometimes. And also, how do we have a more holistic understanding of the students, so we're not just judging them by their GPA or just by their ACT score or their forward exam or what have you, because my experience at middle and high school, students really do internalize that message, and then when they see themselves as just that, we it's tough to really make connections and engage about mental health needs when they are, how we perceive them is just a number or just a letter grade, which is not truly understanding the whole value of the young people we have in front of us.
Thank you, Michael. Andre?
First of all, I just wanted to thank the students. A great list. I have a lot of the same things as well, so I want to acknowledge that. Some other things, that I had, as well as, all students that are thriving academically, socially, and emotionally. And then also kind of piggybacking on some comments with regards to restorative justice and what it is and what it isn't, or how we use it. I would say frequently, not only, potentially in schools, but other places, we use it as interventions or alternatives to things, rather than kind of maybe the more true forms of building community, and really identifying kind of those underlying pieces that we need to address. So I think, some of that is not only that it's there, but where and when it intersects. And, frequently we as systems react to things and put things in place rather than the proactive, kind of steps. So I just wanted to, encourage that piece and lift that piece up as well.
Thank you, Ms. Hodds.
Kind of related to some of the stuff that Mike said, just as far as some of the academic systems that we have all emphasis on end results and nothing on day-to-day. And when students don't realize that they're important every day, not just at the end of the semester with whatever number that they get or whatever Aspire or ACT test they get. Every day should matter in a school, every day. Kids' wellness should be every day, not just results-based stuff. And we are treating people like numbers. And I've seen a lot of lack of pride in work and things like that as we've been only focused on the end result rather than every day being important.
That was really powerful, y'all. Dr. Hicks.
I would just like to follow up, and I concur with what Andre Johnson said, because he and we come from the same community and village. So community is a lot, and really about schools are communities, and how are we really embracing that village in that community. The other thing around how I think about it should look or be as a community is it's where's the authenticity of the humanness in those spaces? How are young people as well as adults able to explore, other avenues and experiences? I forgot which scholar said it on here, but talking about how we I think I just lost my train of thought. How they are able to access and get rid of that idea of a negativity on mental health, right? Because what we do know is that scholars bring all of themselves to the place every day, to the school, right? But as our systems and structures are set up for schooling, we don't address the whole of them. We only we only try, or the system is only really focusing on one part of them, which is the academic part. And all of who they are and all of their experience came way before those academic pieces. And so until we learn and start beginning to center the humanity in the adults as well as the scholars, the shifting of how we see each other, how we value each other, how we affirm each other, how we communicate with one another, how we actually, depend on each other. And I always tell scholars all the time, you know why we don't have eyes in the back of our head? They say, no, Dr. Hicks, why is that? I said, because we need other people. Like we can't do it all, right? And so those are the things, some of the things that I brought out in my vision, but really being seen, heard, affirmed, and able to thrive socially, emotionally, physically, and academically. And really, and was that Yana who said something about the diversity in the level of support? And I'm just gonna put myself out there. I do see a therapist, right? I have seen a therapist, and a relationship has to be built there to be vulnerable, right? But once I began to build that that vulnerability within that space, I also had to be able to tell that person what I needed from them, right? Because I know how to whitewash stuff too, right? I know how to make it say what I need, but what I needed was somebody to push me and somebody to challenge me and help me to question myself. And sometimes we don't even know what it is that we need or how we need it, right? And giving young people the opportunity and advocacy and efficacy in order to build that, for themselves in schools, because most of them have more brilliant ideas than I could ever think of because of their their ability to be lasted and just be flexible, right? And so we really need to make sure that what we're setting up is something viable for their growth and success, and not just my as an adult comfortability around being in the spaces. So yes.
That was beautiful. Dr. Ramirez, we haven't heard from you yet. But before you begin, I just wanted to welcome Julian to the space. And Julian, what we are reflecting is we gave folks some time to think about what is your vision for student safety and wellness. And that's what we're currently debriefing. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Well, I think there's definitely a theme that I'm hearing from the students and from the staff and adults on the committee, that psychological safety obviously is mental health is a component of overall psychological safety. And that when you do have psychological safety, there's a sense of community and a sense of connection. And I'm just thinking of Bessel van der Kolk. He has a saying that says, being able to feel safe with other people is probably the single most important aspect of mental health. Safe connections are fundamental to meaningful and satisfying lives. And I think that quote from Bessel is a theme that I'm hearing across from the group.
Anything else from your own reflections around the vision? Okay.
Yeah, I just the connections.
Thank you. Julian?
First off, I want to say I'm happy to be here. I know you guys have had a couple of sessions already. Work has just been crazy.
Would you like to introduce yourself, Julian?
Yeah, I would. My name is Julian Walters. I am a stakeholder in the Madison community. Grew up, went to Madison Memorial, went away for college, but now I am back working in the affordable housing multi-unit space. I'm also a realtor and just a community member. So I'm happy to be here with you guys. And a lot of what I've been doing so far is just kind of listening and feeling the vibe of the group and seeing the different people we have and the different perspectives, which is much appreciated and very valuable. And so as I am thrusting myself into this group and getting ready to be more present, a lot of today for me will just be a lot of listening. I think that I need to catch up to speed, just being transparent and see, catch up to the group. But I'm happy to be here with you all, and I look forward to trying to brainstorm ways to make a change. One of the things that I think, I forgot who said it, but it resonated with me, was that there just needs to be more of a sense of community. There's a lack of connection. There's a disconnect between students and teachers, especially minority students and teachers. They're already walking into a situation or a facility where there's not a lot of administrators that look like them. And so the assumption is they're not going to really be able to know how to relate to what that student may be going home to, more often than not is going home to in Dane County, statistics show. So it's about maybe somehow there has to be some type of bridge of gap of understanding, because how can either of those people feel safe in environment? And I'm not talking about physically, but how can you feel emotionally safe when there's no respect or relatability between the administrator and the student? And another person pointed out that it's all education, and it's like there's a whole nother dynamic of this problem that falls on the community, the actual community as a whole, and parents and households, because this problem is so dynamic and holistic. But just within inside those walls, I don't know what it looks like and forms, and this is what I mean by I need to catch up to speed, but there needs to be some sort of bridge of gap, whether it be after school activities, or I don't know what it looks like, but there needs to be some sort of understanding of relatability where people can trust each other, not even just from the students end, but from the administrators and the teachers in as well, because they need to feel safe as well, not just physically but emotionally. So that would be my piece. And again, I'm happy to be here with you all.
Thank you so much. And welcome to our space, Julian. I would add mine, and I would love if folks have anything to add or any questions that they have as a follow-up. I want to just do a +1 on one of the students mentioned that they have at least one adult that they can count on. But one of the highlights from my reflection was that every student feel and know they belong in our schools and community. So I want to open up for any questions or follow-ups from what you all heard. Yeah, Joanna?
I just want to follow up what Mr. Jones said. So basically, I do feel like academics have been a big part of mental health this year. I know a lot of students who are taking AP classes because they want to go to highly competitive colleges. So they kind of need those classes in order to get into those colleges. And teachers have been over assigning this year a ton. And I feel like a lot of teachers at La Follette, at least, well, not a lot of teachers, but some teachers at La Follette, when students came to them talking about what their situations are at home or how they feel that they're being overassigned, they haven't taken that into account, nor have the administrators either. I asked 31 or 32 juniors at La Follette how many assignments they had right before the ACT, the month before the ACT, and the average was 62 assignments / test. So not only assignments, but also summatives that they were given, not related to anything with the ACT at all. So a lot of students felt very unprepared for the ACT, felt very overworked right before the ACT for their classes, and they had to make a decision whether they wanted to keep a good grade in a class or if they wanted to score well on the ACT, which takes a huge mental toll on a lot of these students who put a lot of their life effort into academics in order to go to highly competitive colleges. And I just feel like when students have, raised those concerns about not having time for themselves after school because of all the assignments, teachers just don't really care. They don't listen to the student voices, which has contributed to a lot of students' mental health.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to lift up that we are among brilliant scholars in the space. You identify an issue and you applied, administer a survey. That is brilliant. Thank you so much for your work. Megan, I see your hand.
Yeah, kind of adding on to what Joanna said. I feel like also I'm a freshman, but the first day that I went into high school, there was kind of this conversation that I had with not just one, but several teachers kind of started the school year off by saying your grades matter now. This is what's going to be on your college application. This is what's going to matter for the rest of your life. And I think it started kind of building up from there, mentally and emotionally, because at least personally, I had one late assignment in one class and I felt like I needed to go to the teacher, and I apologized profusely, but it was super duper stressful because I felt like everything was going to fall apart. And it was a major stressor for me, and I know that a lot of students are in the same boat as I am. And I think that there's way too much stress on a single assignment or a single class that you feel like you need to ace in order to survive high school or to become successful in your life. And I feel like that kind of needs to change a little.
Yeah, we should not be surviving high school. That should not be the thing that's happening. Thank you so much. Lavinia?
I just had one quick thought to add. People have said this, but there's just so much more for students to juggle this year. Whether it be sports, clubs, extracurriculars, schools, APs, honors. It's just so much. And after last year, it was probably definitely easier compared to an actual school year. And kind of just that difference, high school is already hard. But in comparison to last year, it's even harder. And I feel with the ignorance of mental health and just the whole issue, in teachers or administratives, it kind of just like impacts the students. It makes them feel like they're like getting stressed, but like they shouldn't be stressed. This should be fine. This should be like this is like a normal amount of work that they should be able to do this. When that's obviously not the case. It's a lot more than last year, and it's like perfectly fine to be feeling stressed and feel like they can't do it. That's a normal reaction. But I feel like with the ignorance of this, it kind of just sets a toll on students. It makes them feel like they should be able to do this. They like all by themselves without any help. And I feel like it's just making it worse, just like digging a deeper hole. And we need to be able to, have these conversations, like actually incorporate mental health into, all the classes, not just like health class. And I feel like I think some teachers fail to understand that not being able that students are obviously gonna be impacted by the virtual year last year, and that obviously impacts their performance. But yeah, just like understanding that and letting students know that it's okay to be like this or feel this way.
Yeah, thank you. And Gordon?
Yeah, I hear what everyone is saying. I definitely do think sometimes teachers set, very high expectations of their students. But I think that's also as a result of what they also are being set for themselves. I don't know exactly what teachers have to report back to their own, administrators about like in terms of class performance, etc. But I would imagine that there's some type of criteria that they should try to meet. So I do wonder if that's probably reflected onto students. But aside from that, I do know like college admissions are becoming way more, selective. And you also have people who are concerned about like the impact of virtual learning in terms of education, like, how do we, get back the amount of knowledge that was potentially missed through virtual learning? Then there's conversation about, do students actually retain the knowledge learned in high school or grade by grade, and it can actually apply it to real life? Then there's the concern about, if students are actually, career ready, can they actually go out to the work, have skills necessary to obtain a job? Or can I do things besides going to post-secondary education? Like what if their path is a little bit different? So, there's multiple conversations that we have in terms of like expectations, education, etc. And I've said this before, education is not, the quality of education is not consistent by high school in our district. And so I think that is a problem in itself. And because I know Yona and I, we talked about the type of workload that we have in each of our classes or classes that we have taken before, and it was much different, right? And also Yona had a point too, like, sorry, Yona, she had a point too, that like, with the ACT and all of that, the district has this program for ACT help, but how can students actually really perform well in that program if they, if the work, one, is not being implemented properly, or and two, if there isn't, understanding of how they can manage their time to, perform well in that course. So I would just, in all, I just have to say, like, this conversation is a very complex one because there's so many external factors that we also have to take into consideration, right? So I would like to have this conversation again and maybe just go by case.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, Michael, did you take your hand down? Okay, Dana.
I also wanted to lift up the needs of the kids with disabilities. So I have a son that's on the autism spectrum and has an IEP and is in Madison schools. And I got known as the mom, right, that would come in and do all the things. And my son was privileged to be able to have a mom that knew how to read the rules, knew how to make sure that things were happening for him. And even still, with me knowing all those things, my son is really behind in some things because we had to we had to divert attention. There wasn't enough teachers, there weren't enough classes. And now, we are struggling to get him prepared for college, because he does want to go to college and he does want to go to art school, and he has the abilities to do that. And a lot of times those kids get left out of these conversations. And we need to make sure that when we include these conversations, that we are encompassing those that have the most needs. So I just want to make sure that we are lifting that up and not glossing over their needs because they are the least vocal, and sometimes their parents don't have the knowledge and the ability to be able to push back on things that some of us know how to push back on.
Thank you, Lena. Mari?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up from a practical standpoint, wouldn't it be great if every single student, regardless of their path or whatever challenges they face, knew exactly what to do if they need help? Like, where do I go? And maybe that could even be something that teachers discuss like at the beginning of the semester along with the syllabus. Like, if you are struggling, this is where you go, this is who you contact. Because I know there are wonderful teachers and staff that can kind of tell when something's going on with the kid, but not always. So if like I said, if every single kid could know, if I'm struggling, this is where I could go, I think that would do a lot.
Yeah, Andre?
I was going to say, piggybacking on that, and not us as the adults assuming that without asking, because I know some of the most creative and successful plans from my perspective has been when they've identified who is that safe adult. And a lot of times it's not the people we would think. So, I've seen the security guards, the custodians, the lunch lady, so sometimes, with good intent, we box students into, these are the people that you should be seeking, when in reality, we should be asking, who are those people that you feel most comfortable and safe with, and then developing that so that we're incorporating their wishes, desires, and what they're telling us, rather than us pigeonholing them into what we think and who we think those people should be.
What I really appreciate, Andrea, about what you said is that the intersection of the majority, the largest diversity, one of the largest diversity in our buildings is among custodials and the safety staff and folks that work in the cafeteria and BRSs. So there's an intersection with things that folks have already shared around making sure that we have diverse staff. So this has been a really rich conversation, and I agree with my co-chair Gordon around making sure that we come back to this conversation, especially because also we're missing quite a few folks today. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'm trying to think, because of time, I'm wondering if we can just identify the two to three things that came up for you all around the what MMSD can do differently or more. So identify 2 to 3 things that MMSD can do differently or more. And then we're just gonna go around. I'm gonna take some notes. I'm gonna try to bring most of the notes. I hope you all have got my email. We plan to send a communication email. Of course, folks can also watch the recording on YouTube. We'll send a communication with some of the themes that have come up, and then we'll bring the same 2 questions next time as well. So I wanted to start with adults. And again, just being concise, so we make sure that we close the meeting in our time schedule. And Andre, are you ready to kick us off? 2-3 things around what can MMSD do differently or more, and then you can pass it to somebody else.
Ananda, I'm always ready to talk. So a couple things that I just put down, I mean, and it's been kind of said already, is, diversity of staff, and, increasing that across all, kind of job types, classifications, and being creative with that. I think, another piece is, including more student voice and, kind of the, no decisions about me without me. And then finally, I think challenging the ways that things have always been done as the backup kind of response, and being open to new and creative solutions.
Pass it to somebody, please.
I'll go. I'll kind of piggyback off of that. And with those new and creative solutions, being really focused, because more is not necessarily better. So really identifying some core strategies or skills that staff can develop or use to create that emotional and psychological safety. And also making sure that the resources that we do have, like the psychologists and the counselors and the social workers, are really freed up to do the work that they're there to do, to get connected to students, to hear the students' voice, to create that sense of belonging and psychological safety. And so, that they're not doing lunch duty and they're not doing recess duty, but they're really being allowed to perform the function that they're there for.
You pass it to somebody, Rebecca.
I can go next. I totally agree with what Rebecca said. And I think too, just empowering those school psychologists and social workers that we have to let everybody else know what would work best. They're experts, and to respect that expertise and not to overburden them with like lunch duty, but also just with too much. We do need, we need to look at our formulas, because we have too many students per school psychologist right now. Across the board. And so we can't overburden those professionals if we really want to make sure everything works. And again, to listen to their voices about what they, what they're hearing from students and what they think would help. Dr. Hicks?
So what I had stated was just really being intentional about creating the spaces for authenticity, where young people can have the opportunity, as well as staff, to really be their authentic selves, with the necessary supports, as well as providing the necessary training for staff, all staff, not just the counselors and the psychologists and the social worker, but all staff to support and embrace young people. And I know that someone mentioned that before, that no training has occurred. I know that as a district, we do a lot of training. We've done training with staff around trauma-informed care. Trauma comes in all shapes and sizes and ways. And so that has been continuous and continues to be ongoing. I just think the cadences which those occur need to be more often. And I will call on Mari.
Yeah, I kind of already touched on mine, which I would like to see more institutional knowledge about how and where students can seek help.
Dana, did you go?
What I had written down is that I would like MMSD to be proactive versus reactive when dealing with student safety concerns, to partner with community agencies to be able to expand services, because we know how funding for school goes. So there are agencies that can be partnered with. And then the last thing I had was clear response to issues as they arise, and a clear direction of what happens in situations when safety is compromised.
And then Julian?
For me, it would be, we really revisit the topic of the scaring students into mental overload tactic from the teachers, i.e., this is now everything matters. Now your whole life is on the line. Your grades are going to be important and dictate your future, and all the school you get into, and that will determine the life you live. I think that's a thing of the past, and quite frankly, I think the structure should be more option based, i.e., trades and junior college and different things of that nature, and not just pushing 4-year competitive universities on everyone. And then secondly, I like the topic of revisiting a space, that one space that people can go to and just know that if they need help, that's kind of the universal place for the community, for the school.
Thank you. I think all the adults have gone. Mia, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, sure. So, everyone has kind of already said mine, but I'm gonna put an emphasis on, like, being upfront about the resources that students have to students. Like, for example, at my work, we have a little sheet in the break room that has, like, the email and phone number of our, HR person, the email and phone number of, like, our district manager. So, like, just something like that for students, but with counselors, psychologists, because my school is really big and we have it split into 4 neighborhoods. And I think there's only like 1 psychologist per the whole school, or like at least 2. I don't know how it works, but that's a lot of students. And, just like making resources available to those students and being really upfront about it. And I'll pass it to Joanna.
Thank you. So the question was about what we want to see this year, correct? From MMSD?
What do we see more or differently? Differently or more from MMSD?
Okay, thank you. So basically, I would say I have a huge thing about transparency from the district. I feel like students have not received a lot of transparency from MMSD this year. There's been a lot of lack of communication during safety issues. For example, when someone brought a gun to La Follette, parents did not know until school was done with. Students did not know. Teachers didn't even know. So teachers thought that it was just like a fight that was happening, which is why we were on lockdown. But no, someone brought a gun to school, but the district wasn't being not the district, but the administrators were not being transparent about it to teachers, who would need to be proactive in a situation like that if a situation were to occur with someone starts shooting or something like that. So I feel like transparency this year has been a huge lack, and I really want to see more transparency from the district. And then also, I guess putting an emphasis on student voices. I've noticed that this year there's been a lot of walkouts because students have not felt like their voices have been heard by the district. So kind of just like putting more emphasis on student voices and student concerns and letting them know that, hey, we do care about your voices, and like we don't want to ignore your voices or anything like that. And I'll pick Lavinia.
Joanna kind of just touched on everything that I wanted to add. I just was hoping that MMSD, I guess, starts or continues prioritizing student well-being more, and or at least letting us know if there's any barriers to taking action on student well-being, And that like plays hand in hand with communication, like letting us know if or what you're doing to help us out or anything, or that kind of stuff. Because right now it just feels like they aren't doing anything, like they aren't prioritizing us at all. And I don't know if that's entirely true or if that's just like fault on communication, but like we need to know that, so that we know at least something is going on, and kind of just the other thing, frankly, mental health should not have escalated this much for people to start like talking about it and realizing that this is a serious issue that needs to be addressed. Mental health was an issue like way before COVID. So like why is it why does it have to escalate this much for people to start like realizing that this is a problem and that administrators need to do something about this, but yeah, people were talking about being like being proactive rather than just reacting and like saying we're going to do this, we like got a climate survey sent out the other day that we had to fill out in classes, but like all these surveys, what's being done with them? Like what is being done with what I'm sharing, and does it actually help, and like letting us know that too, like what where are our, I guess, thoughts going? Like, is this actually being changed into real actions? But yeah, it's just like there's a whole confusion around that. And that definitely goes with not being transparent enough. Megan, would you like to go?
Yeah, so I agree with everything that everybody has said. And I also just kind of said that maybe school staff and administrators are kind of less focused on, the grading scale, but more focused on creating those relationships with every student and kind of putting mental health and student well-being before the grades. Because I think if a student is doing well mentally and emotionally, they're going to feel more motivated to do well in school. Whereas if they're not feeling supported, they're going to have a rougher or tougher time raising their grades or feeling motivated to do so. But also, again, more communication, just because I feel like a lot of students don't really see the big picture. We get these surveys, we get these questionnaires, we fill them out, but we don't know what's happening with them. We don't really know how soon a change is going to happen. When those surveys get sent out talking about a change, we don't know if that's going to be in 6 months or 4 years after we've graduated. So I think that can be kind of hard on students that need help right away and aren't really receiving it. Oh, and then Cece, have you gone?
No, I've not. I feel like everyone has already said like my two biggest points, visibility and transparency. Just those are like my two biggest points. So we know what's going on and we feel like our voices are being heard and there's something or someone that's doing something about that.
Gordon, are you the only one that has not gone?
Yes. One second. I was just, I was taking notes and like it's still a lot to process. I would say for me, it would just be prioritizing what, every student is different, what I might need to succeed is maybe much different than what, my peer may need. So I think we just need to find a way to understand that students have different needs. Some students want to go on to competitive colleges. Some students want to go on to junior college. Some want to go into a trade. And that is all okay. Society needs people who go into different things, right? And I think it's just important that our education reflects that. And I'll also say just, we have these conversations, happen quite a bit, and I would just say I think a lot of the times it's that, sometimes after we hear these things, we jot it down somewhere and eventually it gets lost or just not much follow up. And I think that happens especially when it comes to, when there's youth focus groups that the district has besides Student Senate. There's a lot more actually. But you just don't hear about them, right? And I think a lot of times those groups are just created for performative reasons, and we need to do better and ensuring that what's actually being said in those groups is taken into consideration. And I think in terms of groups that endless opinions and stuff from teachers, parents, etc., are the same way, in terms of performativeness. And I think we need to take those things into more consideration too. So what I'm just trying to say is, understanding that education needs to be tailored more uniquely to our students, and that community members, parents, teachers, etc., all of those voices need to be actually be embedded into decisions and not just there for performative reasons.
Wow, y'all, I don't know about you, but I'm like goosebumps. Um, Julian, yeah, you went. I think everybody has gone, right? Not missing anyone. Great. I think for me, I really appreciate everything that everyone said. I added the RJ spaces, and then I also added the assigning students to cohorts with an assigned staff when they enter 4K. Right. So what does it look like that we hardwired in the system that at the very least that one adult support or the multiple adult support, so they were not losing them. I want to share deep gratitude to all of you. This was just beautiful work. We'll come back with the same 2 questions for the next time that we meet in 2 weeks, to focus on a little bit deeper into a positive frame, meaning not just what is happening right now, which we heard a lot and it was helpful to the context, but moving forward as we're planning and making recommendations, what are some of the things that we want to make sure that it exists, both from a vision perspective, but also from a practical or potential policy perspective. So we'll come back to that, and hopefully we have also other members joining us to reflect a little bit more on that. Are there any questions or comments as we wrap up? And Gordon, anything else for you? We're gonna bring back the communications update because Liz is not here, so that's totally fine. I also want to let you know that Barb is not with us today because she's getting an award from being amazing. She has served a lifetime with us, and Barb Osborne is this board secretary, and she's been super committed to this group. I say this to also say, please just have a lot of grace for us because she's picking up a lot of work, and she's onboarding somebody to take her place as she's heading to retirement. So she's having double work, and sometimes the communication is coming a little bit delayed. So thank you for your all's patience. But we are planning to meet every 2 weeks, the same time, 5:15. If the calendar does not have, the appointment is not in your calendar, just know that it's coming. Just please make sure that you hold that space. So we'll expect from us within the next week, communication from Gordon and I with a link with the video and some highlights from this meeting. But I'm deeply honored and humbled to be serving with all of you all. I've just got a lot of emotions happening for me right now, just from hearing from you all and seeing and experiencing this space with you all and imagining the possibilities that what we can do together. So thank you, everyone, and have a lovely rest of your really warm week. So, and thank you, Melissa, for covering for Barb today. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Will this committee continue in the summer?
We are thinking about taking at least part of the summer for sure. I mean, the committee is going to continue for 18 months. So we are still trying to think about like what is meetings going to look like, because July is really hard, specifically for our students. And Lavinia, you are a senior, right? Too?
I'm a sophomore.
No, you're a sophomore. Oh, okay. So you're going to be with us for another year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we at some of the meetings, probably a meeting in June, we'll talk about like how do we want to hold the meetings in the summer. Melissa